Alright, welcome back. Hope you're having a good day. This is my Campeche tree. Today is July 13th. And before I do anything today, the first thing I'm going to do is hop in the hot tub time machine and travel back in time and go to back on May 17th. So it's been about 2 months since it's been cut all the way back. And you can see this new growth it's got. Some of these branches, kind of overlap each other in some weird ways, but if you go back and watch the original video, which I'm sure I'll put in the description, it was a lot worse at that point, and it's recovered nicely. You can see here it's growing out really nice, but all of these are just long shoots with no taper, and then a few I'd like to go ahead and just prune off anyway. This tree gets, see if I can get one here with a good background. This tree gets really, red looking growth at first, kind of comes out in little spurts. And then it can even be like back as far as that before it's really even showing any regular color again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut almost everything back to where the branch is starting to lignify. Directional pruning as I'm doing it. For instance, this one right here I'll go ahead and do now. It's just one of the lower branches. It lignifies right in here. It's got a good branch coming this way, and then this one straight up. I'll cut the one off going straight up and then go ahead and just nip it there in the hopes that it takes off with that node and grows away from this one here that's also a keeper, and I'll actually do the same thing for it. So that's the bottom two there, and then this one's also growing well here. Now this thing's lignified back in here somewhere, but it's a bit even longer than I really want it to be. Either node would be fine. I don't really want that one. That one's going straight down. That one's going straight up. And so maybe I'll go ahead and nip that off right around there. This is, about 2 or 3 branches down from where the apex really is. And it's got this shoot that's actually stronger than what is coming right out of what, the top of the tree is actually going to be. And it kind of crosses the trunk a little bit. And I think I can see where I directionally pruned and tried to keep this one. And this one kind of is coming out sort of weak there. So what I'll do is take that entire thing off, in hopes that this just kind of keeps going that way. And I was thinking, since that was weak, I wasn't going to cut it at all, but I don't really want one branch getting like way ahead of everything else, so I'll at least try to take the tip off there. While the ramification is nice with it, comes out of the trunk right there, coming this way, and then it just makes an abrupt turn here, and again, eventually that would be crossing the trunk. So I'll take that whole one off, and then go ahead and probably take that one about as far back as there. You can see it's coming out of the main trunk here. The apex is kind of taking a turn. You can see here was a chop. I'll talk about that chop here in a second. And it takes the turn, and just the tree is kind of taken off this way and chosen that as its apex. This is one of the lowest branches coming off of that. This is kind of thick and heading this way, and this one kind of just crosses over the rest of the tree. I'll go ahead and have to take that out. When I saw how these are, even though they're full of thorns, they are, it's brittle but somewhat flexible, and of course if you wire it, the wire itself holds it together too. And I had thought about I've had enough patience to wire a couple of rain trees, prefer to do like a clip and grow, but then I looked up pictures of these, like, how they look in the woods, and they really do just kind of have a tropical style canopy. And the most interesting part about them is the trunk. So that's kind of what I'm going to, the look I'm going to look for, more in a cloud on top than anything kind of pine tree looking. I saved all these for last, and I don't think none of those are really crossing or problems or anything. And since these are basically what I'm hoping will become the crown, I'd like them to be, a little bit on the shorter side than these lower branches because they are coming off the main trunk. So I'm going to go, they're lignified about out to there. I'm going to go a little bit further, and for the most part, these are all far enough apart. I don't really even need to think about being horribly directional or thinking about it too much. Straight shoot looking guy there, but that's okay. All right, and then here we are back in July. Since I cut that, one of those chops is here. I mean, these weren't really chops. I didn't really chop back a trunk. I just cut back, I think this is all new, or maybe actually I cut it back to about right there, I think it was. There, kind of one of these trees where, I guess everything I've read about it is that it'll get kind of like a live vein where it'll take off more in one spot than another. And I did notice this whole side of the tree kind of took off, and then this part of the apex, this, let's see, come around here like that. This part of the apex also took off, but then these three lower branches here, you can actually see, you might be able to see a little new growth right there. But it kind of filled in some and actually started to get a little more bush-like down there, but really didn't kind of take off like the rest of it did, and the rest of it is kind of like 80% of it. So what I'll do is I will leave those three branches alone. But here's where I chop to. I don't, one of the things I mention sometimes is pollarding. Pollarding is where you prune, say, a shrub back to the same spot every time. So I want to be super careful not to do that. You wind up with knobs there. I'll start here just with this branch since it's in front of me, coming straight at me here. And then here's where I cut it the last time, and it kind of shot to my left or towards the camera. So I'm going to go ahead, 2 nodes, and hope now that it just kind of follows that node more back to me a little bit. Try to use my directional pruning to also create some movement in it. This one, I actually think this is the one I cut way back to here, and I left these two to kind of gain some momentum. So I don't have to worry about that too much, but again, this one's going towards you, and so what I'm going to do is just kind of maybe get a little more aggressive with this one and try to get it to change direction towards me, and then the same thing over here, try to get it about the same length and just work my way around here and basically keep doing the same thing. I chop this one back to here, and so now to get it to change directions, I'll come out, actually I could come out just 1 node on that one. And I got this guy down here. I think this might have been another one that had a longer branch shooting off this way, and I had left this with some momentum there. I watched part of the video that I made in May, but I didn't watch the whole thing. I got to edit in a minute. Sometimes I hate hearing my voice that much. Maybe I cut it right there, so it doesn't really seem like it's going any particular direction, so I'm just going to get a little length off of it. This one, it seems as if maybe the pattern I was going to, I kind of had everything going this way, so now I'm going to try to get it to change direction just so that it's not always going the same way. Here's where this one was cut back to. So I'll bring it back to there. Now this one I cut back to right here, started kind of growing out, up some, which this would be one of the uppermost branches. I might just go ahead and just cut that off, just to kind of keep that a little more compact. Now, except for these 3 branches down here, this is another one that really didn't do, kind of sprouted some up, but didn't really come out this way much, only that far. Where the other ones, that's like 3-4 inches. The other one's got like a good solid 6-8 inches. So I think I just might cut the growing tip off of that one. And then this one I cut here and was turning that way, so now I want to turn it back that way. And so I'll cut it there with the node going that way. And that pretty much brings me all the way around. These are the 3 branches I decided not to touch today. This one's just actually starting to get some momentum. I haven't really, I think next summer I'll repot it. I read the article that Weigert's had on it. I guess they bare root them in July. And, so now would be the time to do it, but I did just buy it. I pulled it up outside, and it doesn't seem to be root bound at all. It is still in the original nursery soil that they sell it in. But I think I will wait at least another year till next July, and so I'll worry about a front then. So I could use this side for the front, take advantage of some of the movement there. But this trunk here is just kind of the uninteresting side of the trunk, in my opinion. This side, there seems to, it has the illusion of even a little more movement, and I think it's because there's the one groove in the trunk there where you can see part of the trunk growing quicker than the rest of it. I think it's a little more overall kind of pleasing to the eye from the other side, but this side's like a little more, like I said, interesting. But perhaps when I repot it, maybe I could angle it back a little bit. And since I'm going to wait, you know, basically at least a year before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and just wait till then. I'm a little nervous about repotting it. I mean, believe it or not, this is the most money I've ever spent on a tree. I do enjoy it, but since I haven't even tried to strike any cuttings or anything like that, it's my only one, so I'm kind of nervous to do any major work.